One guy, he can shoot. The other guy, not so much.
Where we gonna go to celebrate?
Uh,
Thinking Club Shay Shay.
Club Shay Shay.
Club Shay Shay, yep.
Get that stuff out of here.
And although they're very different in many ways, most importantly, they're brothers for life. And they always gonna have something to say.
That's exactly what's gonna happen. You gonna end up like Russell Westbrook. You gonna be just out.
Love is in the air, and it's a beautiful thing. Two people spend quality time together, like turns into love, and then whoop, there it is. He is on one knee popping that question. Engagement is an exciting time, one that should be filled with joy. Joy that should not be eradicated or subsided by stress or trials and the like. You know, many people have the viewpoint and opinion that engagement, while a joyful and happy time, is a time where major disagreements and stress will transpire. Individuals have even told me that said issues are, quote, normal and a part of the process. If they are really in love, they will just figure it out, and those problems are actually going to make their marriage stronger. Yeah, I'm calling bull jive. Look, no two people will agree on everything. That's a given. However, major ordeals are not a part of growing together. Having said, difficulties do not encourage teamwork or togetherness, especially when compromise is lacking on one or both sides. That is not normal. Stop telling people that it is normal to be at each other's throats during this time. Quit saying that it should be expected. Some married individuals are actually the worst offenders and mislead you to thinking that. Everything that transpires during this period, good or bad, is indicative and emblematic of what is to transpire later. Fairy tales are cute and all, but reality is a completely different story. Think of it like this. You have a beautiful table that needs to be assembled, but the only tools you have to assemble it is tools of destruction. Dynamites and wrecking balls. You're not going to get very far, are you? Do we get the point? Look, I can't tell you what to do at the end of the day. That's your business, none of mine. And I care, but I don't care enough to actually get involved. But what I will say is this. You have to have the right tools along with the right mentality to have success. All right, joining us now at the desk is Miss Maceo Owens from Detroit. What's up? How you feeling?
Feeling good.
Cool. And of course, my partner, Alan AJ Ward, is going to get us started. Alan, what do you think? Stressful engagements, normal or not?
That's an interesting question. They are normal, but it shouldn't be that way. I think everything you said was just beautifully executed. Because it should be a happy time. Now, if you're obviously gonna have some sort of stress because it's a stressful time. You have all these things to plan, but it shouldn't be to the point where you're arguing all the time, because that's like you said, you use that big word, indicative and emblematic of what's going to transpire throughout your marriage. If you're always arguing, over little stupid stuff, that's what's going to happen in your marriage. Marriage, the wedding, the reception, it should be simple. Everything should be simple. So if you're arguing all the time, that's just a recipe for disaster. I got more to say, but I'll let Maceo take it away.
Let's go, Mace. What it is, what it do? Talk to us.
I 1000% disagree with everything you said, honestly. And I'm not even trying to be problematic. Like, personally, I've always told people, like, once you get engaged, it gets hard. And that first year of marriage, it's going to be harder. But then it smooths out after that. But I think that, first of all, you got to understand, marriage is hard, period, right? So getting engaged, that's that first steps. That's like that first rocky point where you guys are trying to be one. And with that, before you might have had people's opinions just in general while dating, but when you get engaged, that's when you really hear families' opinions from both sides, friends' opinions from both sides, and trying to get all of that to clash and make one happy event and life thereafter. There's so many factors. It's going to be problematic, period. And there's going to be times where you realize, like, oh, wow, I didn't know that that's what you thought about that. But that doesn't necessarily make it a breaking point. It just makes it like, this is something. It's a learning process, and that's what comes with the learning process.
So you don't think there's any problem if a couple are at each other's throat for that 6, 8, 9, 10 months that they engaged?
Depends on what they're at each other's throat about, but for the most part, no. I think it's completely normal. Not even just normal. I think that's event planning is stressful. Think about it like that. So you're event planning for yourselves, but also really for everybody else. And there's money involved, and there's other people's opinions involved, and you got to think about the thereafter, which is where are we going to live. Things like that all matter, and it's all a very short period of time that you have to figure it out.
Okay, and all of that is fine and dandy, and I rock with that. I mean, we've all three of us have been engaged, all three of us, whatever. We understand what goes into that. I'm going to tell you this right now, though. It don't have to be where we at each other's throats. Because, like you said, marriage is hard, and we get all that. But we talking about strictly being at each other's throats day in, day out through the engagement process. Like, that's not healthy. That doesn't encourage. Some folks make it out of it, and that's fine. And I think that's why people get into that mindset where, okay, well, this couple made it out of it. Say a couple over here made it out of it, So that's how it's supposed to. No, I'm sorry. Alan, get back in there.
Yeah, you made some good points. You said, it depends on what you're arguing about. That's true. If you're arguing about money, like you said, event planning, if you're arguing about money, that might be a bad sign, because if one person is simple, and the other person isn't simple, and you realize that, and you're arguing all the time about money, about just little stupid stuff, or like what type of dishes you want at the wedding, and I want this, and it has to be your way or the highway. That's a recipe for disaster, because you get in that marriage, that mindset's not all of a sudden going to change.
Nope.
But who's to say that that's a mindset that they have for life? Because it could just be my way or the highway because I'm getting married, and that's a one big time where it can be my way or the highway.
That's a bad sign. No, I'm sorry.
That's not a bad sign.
It's because
that displays a selfish attitude when you're like, oh, well, this is quote unquote my event, so it's gonna be my way. No, this is our event.
Two people getting married. Two people
getting married. It's not just for one person.
Okay, but let's be real. Like the whole decorum stuff is about the bride more than the groom.
Disagree. No, that's that. Alan, go ahead.
No, like I see, like that's how people look at it, but that's not how it is, because and when something goes wrong, who is it on? It's on the broom. The groom. Like everything is on the groom. The groom has to oversee everything. He doesn't have to make all decisions, obviously, because like my wife, she made most of the decision, but I was involved in every decision. We talked about every decision, and I knew everything that was going in and out of it. It wasn't her way or the highway, or my way or the highway, because we're both like, this is art. We both get married. It's 50-50, because it's gonna be 50-50 when we get married.
The most time into it. I'm sure that she put way more time planning, way more thought.
But that don't mean it's all about her. Let me ask you a question. You got a husband and wife. She's a stay-at-home wife. Let's say she worked part-time, he worked full-time, and even overtime. He putting most of the money in. He putting more to work in. Who's it about? Him, her, or both of them?
Either way, it's about both of them. But I'm saying in what case does most times when people get married, the groom could care less about what colors are in the wedding and things like that.
That's not 100% true, but I get what you're saying. But go ahead.
Most of the time. I'm not saying 100%, but most of the time. So most of the time it should be like on the bride and it's not even just that. I'm saying for things after that, then it's going to be on the groom, like just for as a husband, like where are we going to live? How are we going to pay our bills? So then there's even that balance of kind of being more submissive off rip, now because I'm engaged and about to be married, but still trying to have some say. That's a huge adjustment to make.
And that's fine. I don't go ahead.
Let me get in it. See, people, they spend so much time focused on the wedding and, I need it this way or that way, or I want it, it has to be perfect like this and that. And they forget that, the wedding is a 24-hour day, just like any other day of the year, any other day that has ever happened. So it's one day. When you put so much into that day and you're so focused on it being perfect and you want it your way, see, sometimes people forget about, what happens after. Like the next morning you gotta wake up to that person, and then every other morning after that you have to like live with that person. So I think you should just be more focused on, man, forget the wedding, man, forget that. To me, the wedding is the reception. It's just for show, and the reception's not even for us. It's for our guests. Let's just get married. Let's focus on what happens after. Let's focus on staying together. Like let's focus on that. Like not focus on what dish I want. Or go ahead, Quaylen.
And what I'm more so talking about is a mentality. See, in my soliloquy in that illustration that I gave about the tools, it's more so about building a pattern of working together. That's what makes a successful engagement process when y'all are working together. But for people to say, oh, once you put that ring on her finger, oh yeah, y'all gonna fight like cats and dogs, that's perfectly fine. Like, no, because what happens is when people tell them that it don't matter what they fight about, it could be the biggest things, they can fight about everything big. And the thing in the back of their mind is, okay, this is how it's supposed to be. Not realizing that's going to transfer into that marriage because the mindset that you go into the engagement with, kind of same thing with the dating process. If you have this mentality dating that, okay, things have to be X, Y, Z, my way or the highway, or things, whatever the case is, once you get engaged, that mindset, him and her, don't change. And then when you get married, they don't change either. Like whatever mindset you had at the start, that's what you're going to finish with. People don't necessarily change like, but with a snap of a finger. People don't, oh, we in this stage, I'm changing completely who I am and what I think. That's not what it is. Go ahead, Mace.
That's my exact point, though. It's because I'm not changing. I have my beliefs and my opinions. He'll have his belief and his opinions. And it's going to take a while for us to be completely on the same page. And you can't just disqualify the whole relationship just because we're not 100% on the same page. And I get what you're saying. It's about working together. But
right.
You have to learn to work together, which means there's going to be a lot of error before you get a smooth sailing pattern here.
Okay,
Let it talk.
No, I was actually going to agree with her actually on something that it is a pattern, it is a process to get to certain patterns of y'all working together. What I'm talking about though is the mentality that no matter, because what happens is this, like I said before, when you tell people that this is perfectly normal, okay, they disregard whatever the actual issues are. Like you said, if y'all arguing like, oh, I want blue, I want green, okay, fine, okay, you, whatever, well, whatever. But if y'all start, like I said, arguing about money and family and where to live, and you just summarily dismissing said issues and saying, oh, well, it's just normal. We're supposed to fight about this stuff.
How is you supposed to come up with a decision about it, though? If it's something that you both, like me, at least I'm a very strong-willed person. So if I believe in something, I believe in it. So if I believe wholeheartedly that I want to move into a house after we get married, I don't want a starter home. I want like a forever home. Let's just say, for instance, that's the case.
Okay.
Because that's what I've been taught. That's what I've been raised to think, all this stuff. So if he's raised differently to think, oh no, renting is the way to go or something like that, it's going to take more than just a working it out conversation for me to get over it. Like
So you say y'all have to fight and go at each other's throat too.
I'm not going to say go at it. I don't know what you mean by go at each other's throat.
Arguing very sternly and not, I won't say violently as far as like, everybody keep their hands to themselves. But what I'm saying is verbally going at it to like.
From a couple though, because some couples, like with some, okay, I don't think there's any of that. With some couples, one of the people is just super passive and just will let one of them run over them. So in some cases, that's not even a problem. But if it's two opinionated people, it's going to take a lot more than a calm conversation, especially if you are just getting used to like a forever life with them and trying to work with them.
And you think that's healthy to have those conversations that are not calm?
I mean, how do you have a calm conversation about something that you're passionate about? And if somebody passionately disagrees with you?
Alan?
You know what, Mason? You have made a lot of good points. I am shocked.
Oh my God.
No, but when like you said, maybe he was raised differently than I just believe marriage it's about give and take. And if you go into it with I want this, and it's gonna take us arguing and fighting for me to get off of that, because it's like, okay, what do you want, babe? All right, you want this? Well, okay, here's why I want this, and okay, here's why you want that. Whose logic makes more sense for us? Okay, and then whoever's logic makes more sense for that particular couple, both people should be like, all right, let's go with that. And that's how marriage works. I ain't been married that long, but that's what I've been told. And you know, I see a lot of older people that's what they tell me, and it's worked for them. And you know, it's give and take. You know, I give, you give. Let's not be so fringent on what I believe is so passionate, and I want this. And yeah, GG.
No, and real quick, Maceo, I want to say this actually because Alan said you made some good points. You did make a couple of good points, especially when you talk about his work. And I said this in my soliloquy, and I think you agree with this because you said this, so I know you agree with this. But it takes work, and it's not, you know, you're not going to agree on every single thing. No two people agree on every single thing, so it's going to take those conversations. All I'm saying is that. What are those conversations? Like, we don't have to have those violent discussions to be successful. Like, that's not a stepping stone to being successful. Like, you can avoid that and be successful. I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. I think that really the bigger conversation that leads to is, does the first year of marriage have to be hard there for? Because at the end of the day, all those same things are like, could be considered little things or conversations that could be had are also the same reasons why a lot of couples have a rough first year. So yeah, but ultimately I think that, I mean, like, I do agree with what you're saying, but I do just think that it just takes an adjustment. And if it's two strong-willed people, like I said, most of the time one person like just kind of doesn't care, and then it doesn't matter. But
yeah, true. Like you said, and like I said, this is not one size fit all, and I think that's what you're trying to say. That, you know, it's not one side. Like, it just depends on the couple. Like I said, the nature of the conversations. Maceo, I do appreciate you coming on the show. We will definitely have you back. We're gonna cut this segment right here. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. We'll be right back after this commercial break. Right, chia, booyah.